Okay, well, I want to thank you and welcome you back to session 4 um, of our mindfulness training. Um, all right, I guess we don't have any more questions. We kind of went through that. So, thank you for those that participated and had a few questions. Um, if anytime you have questions, if during the session I can't really get to them, so feel free to ask. If I see them, then I will answer them. Obviously, if I don't, then when we're done, I'll come back on the chat and answer them the best I can. So um, I do want to ask: does anything, those of you that were here last week, does any one thing stand out more than another, or even I guess in the previous weeks? Um, said that she caught herself catching her breath. Anyone else? Anything stand out from the training that we've done? Anything that really just hit you later, out of nowhere? This happens to me quite often. I'll learn something and I think I understand it, and then I don't know. I'll be driving down the road, or I'll just wake up at 2:30 in the morning and suddenly have an aha moment. It just hits me, and I understand it in a way that I didn't understand it before. So I was just curious if anyone had experienced that. So, um, has anyone tried any of this out during the week on their own? And if you haven't, why? What can I do? What can I do to help you try to integrate this into your daily life? Um, point pointed out that the medical explanation is stress, that we can't help ourselves. Food is comfort. Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad. It's amazing. I wish we taught kids this stuff. I really do. We do things and we don't know why we do them, and science knows why we do them. So I don't know why we can't just start teaching people at a young age to take care of themselves. When you understand that we're creatures of habit and we have chemical and electrical responses, and that we can't help those things, but we have a tool to help override them, then we can practice that and become stronger at it. Um, Good. He said that she's holding her breath. You mentioned that earlier, and she's been able to catch it and control her stress by paying attention to her breathing. Man, for all of the complicated stuff that we're going to talk about for 10 weeks, it all boils down to that right there. That's it. It's as simple as it gets right there, and that's all it is. You can control your stress by paying attention to your breathing. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing. Notices how she's heard stress. She's holding her breath. Yeah. So what I'm going to read through a couple more of these, but if you would you type in here and tell me, now that you've noticed it, what are you able to do about it? And it doesn't have to be anything spectacular. Remember, this is baby steps. So um, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Um, okay, bring up a good point. I need to learn to breathe before it's too late. Once it's too late, I go into panic mode. Yes, you do. But the first step is 2 weeks ago you didn't even know it existed. Okay, so you'll catch yourself, and you'll think, shoot, I wish I would have caught myself earlier. Shoot, I wish I would have caught myself earlier. And then you will start catching yourself earlier. And then you will be able to identify when it's happening. Then you will be able to identify it before it happens. And that's why this is called practice. You will get better at it. Absolutely. Thank you so much, for sharing. I think, not only, I'm human too. Not only does it make me feel good to hear the feedback that I'm helping all of you, but it's got to be good for each of you to read these and to be able to share this with each other and know that we're all in this together, and to experience these things. So thank you for being involved in sharing. So, all right, I want to recap real quick. All right, awareness is fluid. I will say that over and over and over and over. I hope you're finding that you'll learn more about it every week the more you practice it. And your growth should already each week, you should be growing exponentially. You should be noticing and not to say that you won't go backwards, because life is just that way. There'll be times when you'll be on a roll and then you'll not, and then you just come back to it. It's okay. It's just the way things work. That I say all the time, that falling off the wagon is not the problem. Not getting back on the wagon is the problem. So if you stray away, please come back to it. It's certainly okay. It's Again, this isn't religious, but it can be. You can integrate it into your religious life and practices. Um, you're now that you're aware, be grateful for your breath. We know how important that is, and it sounds like many of you are already doing that. And I hope your day starts with that realization, because it can only, as long as you're breathing and nothing else really matters in comparison, it really helps you check your first world problems down. So, last week we discussed the physiology of the stress response in greater detail. That a lot of you already shared that you learned you're holding your breath. That's extremely important. Some of you may actually breathe faster, but both of those increase the CO2 levels in the brain, sets off the stress alarm. Hormones are released in the body and in preparation for survival. And we know that we talked about that this when this happens chronically, that it's not good for us because it causes a lot of health problems. Some of those problems are weight gain, endocrine disruption, hormone imbalances, heart disease, damage to the pancreas, insulin resistance, and ultimately diabetes, increased risk of cancer, digestive issues, DNA damage, depression, other mental health conditions. A whole slew of things can happen when this stress response is continually triggered. It's a very necessary thing. But we discussed that your body doesn't know the difference between what's real and what isn't, other than how you perceive what's real. We also talked about that you have the ability to control it all along. You just didn't realize you had this kind of power. And we just talked about a few examples. Some of you were able to use that this week, where your reaction may have been completely different to certain things that happened to you, but because of your awareness and you were able to focus on the breath, it changes your perception. That's exactly what we're talking about. So when we know better, we do better. The awareness is knowing better, for sure. We're learning every week. We know that as we continue our practice, we continually change our brains. Bonus points to anyone who can type in the chat of what's that's called when we practice and we can physically change our brains and our neural patterns. So because of this, I need to make sure I can see the chat in case somebody pops in the keyword I'm looking for. Because we can practice and we can physically change our brains, we can become exactly who we want to be. We're not stuck with who we are. We're actually, who we are is actually more like who someone else convinced us we were. And that probably goes back to childhood and that horrible period of years we call middle school, where kids are so mean to each other. And we're really trying to figure out who we are, and the opinions of everyone around us are so important that we adopt a lot of those opinions, probably don't realize it. So everything we know, we learn from someone else. And a lot of that, I think, is our self-perception or self-image comes from the opinions of other people around us. So that's important. Let me check back and see if anybody popped in with my neuroplasty. There we go. All right. So by using our awareness and controlling our perceptions, we can control our behavior. That's the whole key point. We had a couple examples of those before we started, of people saying that they were able to use their breath to control their behavior. They were to get on the right side of their emotions. And that's what this is for. So over time, because of neuroplasty, we can create exactly who we want to be. I have this in my notes to talk about later, but I want to bring it up right now. This neuroplasty, this who we want to be, this is the exact application of fake it until you make it. And I've heard that term used in a lot of contexts. And throughout my life, there are different times that I thought it was applicable, but this is where it's applicable. Because I've heard counter arguments: fake it till you make it. Try, that in business or work or whatever. But neuroplasty is where it's at, because when when you decide who you want to be, which is pretty much in your values already deep down somewhere, and we'll talk about some incongruency, and which means that we're living in accordance and in opposition to our values. When when you fake it, if you decide that you want to be a more compassionate person, but you don't feel compassionate, but you start intentionally trying to be compassionate, eventually your brain will change and you will become compassionate. It's neuroplasty. It's factual. You want to be happy, act happy. Now, that's not that simple. There's a lot that goes into it. I understand that. But this is a key component. If you want to be sad, act sad. Things can be self perpetuating. And even though there's a lot more to it, this is a big component to help that along. You get to be who you want to be through neuroplasty, and you can fake it until you make it, which means start now and start practicing the behavior that you think is important at your core. And eventually, through neuroplasty, I guarantee it will change. I guarantee. We have scientific evidence to back that up. I did want to mention that I had an interesting conversation with someone about fixing ourselves. And this person was they were very defensive about the term fixing ourselves, that it gives off a negative connotation. It's a very, very touchy subject, and I get it. Um, there are two schools of thought. On one side, we have people that say we're all broken and we all need fixed. On the other side, we got people: no one's broken, God creates perfection. Well, in my opinion, there's a third option, and I think there's always a third option. I think that's what's wrong with our a lot of things in our world, including our political situation right now in this country. That the answer typically lies in the middle with logic, and so I think both of these things are true. I think we're all broken. We all need fixed. But since we're all broken, then broken is the normal. So we're all normal. And that's a that that's a I can't think of the word I want to use. Got me. I mean, that we are all perfect in that sense. That we're all in this together. I really want you to think about, since we're all broken, we're all normal. We're all even. We're all in the same boat. Whatever analogy you want to make. The only thing that separates us is that some people hide it better than others, and some addictions and behaviors are more easily hidden and maybe more acceptable. For example, there are many interventions for someone who's a workaholic. In fact, in our society, that's rewarded and praised. But it's a symptom of the same disease to a great extent. Now, again, I'm not a therapist, and it is way more complicated than that. I do understand that. But the basic premise is there. Um, if you have someone who's trying to escape whatever it is, and they dive into their work and they neglect their relationships and they neglect their health or whatever, it's not much different than an alcoholic or a drug addict or a food addict and a sex addict. I mean, there's so many things, and some people hide those better than others, and some are accepted, like I said. So one of my favorite sayings is: "Be nice to everyone, because you don't know what silent battle they're fighting." Everyone's fighting a battle, for sure. Um, so we are normal, we are perfect, but we also, the reality is that there are often times that our learned behavior is not congruent with our inherent nature, meaning that someone taught you to act in a way that goes against who you are at your basic core. That causes unhappiness. Chew on that one for a while. That that's real stuff there. Okay. When our actions don't align with our values, it creates inner friction and turmoil, and that leads to unnecessary suffering. And that's really gets at the root of what we're doing here and the things that are going on. There's nothing wrong with wanting to create who you want to be as long as it's done with self compassion and patience. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a better person, in my opinion. Um, I think we can strive to be a better person as long as we're comfortable with who we are, and I think that that's the key with that. Um, we'll never be perfect, but I think we can be progressively happier. And in my opinion, that's the whole point of this conversation. So, um, all right. So tonight I want to do a few quick exercises. These exercises are there to help you further in this process. It's somewhat of a reflective process. These are designed to rattle the cage a little bit, to be quite honest. They're Now, I don't want to again freak anybody out. There's nothing detrimental here, but it may be a little uncomfortable.
I figured as much.
Oh, Siri jumped in. Um, so as we do these, I want you to keep in mind what I just said. As we dig deeper, it may be uncomfortable. You may discover things about yourself that aren't pleasing. This is throughout this entire process, not just what we're doing tonight. But as with awareness and mindfulness, you'll come face to face with yourself, and sometimes it's not very pretty, and that's okay. That's a good thing. We're getting to things. You can't change things if you don't know what's wrong with your car. You can't have it fixed, right? You can't buy the right parts for it. So um, it's okay. And some of these things may be not so pleasing, and I need you to understand that's a good thing. It's up to you to remind yourself that you are perfectly normal. I just explained that to you. You're not likely to discover something that everyone else isn't discovering about themselves in some fashion. Um, this is part of the journey. We're taught to hide who we are. Um, I won't get into that too deep. That's yeah. We'll talk about that another time. Um, but we're taught to put on a face. We have different faces, right? The person you are at home is probably not the person you are at work, and the person you are at work and the person you are at home is not who you are when you're out with your friends. So we have different faces, and in a sense, we're really hiding who we are. And some of it gets really deep because we're self-created and we can change everything, which comes back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. But I'll keep moving on this. Unfortunately, the road to healing comes through the gates of self-discovery. So we have to look at some unpleasant things and discover things, but it's a good thing. It really is a beauty, and the beauty is that we're here doing them all together. So as you see tonight, there may be more going on in your head than you realize. Most of us have a constant flow of chatter, and it's incessant, and we've learned to just block it out. As we proceed this evening and each day, it's important to remember that your thoughts aren't real. I'm going to say it again: your thoughts aren't real. You're like, Bradley, what do you mean they're real? I think them all the time, every day. They're not real. They're abstract concepts. They're chemical reactions and electrical impulses in your brain, and they fire off. And I'm going to show you tonight. They're firing off at probably 10 times the rate you think they're firing off. The only thing that makes them real is your perception of them. You choose which thoughts you want to listen to, which ones you want to believe, and which ones you want to act upon, and that's what makes them real. And that's done based on your reinforced values. We talked about that with your learned behavior, or our learned behavior. We're all in this together. And it's both, and your values can be both good and bad. Your reinforced behavior, it doesn't matter what it is. But the thoughts aren't real. They're just always there. And we just reach up and we grab which ones we want to hang on to. And tonight is going to be the first glimpse for some of you into that reality. The good news is that the reason we're doing this is that once we're aware of our thoughts, that through neuroplasty, we can slowly change the thoughts over time, and we can begin focusing on the ones that we predetermined we wanted to focus on. We're not reactive. We're not grabbing onto these thoughts that keep flowing through our brain, the same ones over and over, because the the, the reality is that we become comfortable with certain thoughts. So when that thought comes up, we're like, "Hey," and we grab that one. And it may not always be good. This is why we do things like, I don't know, my wife is on vacation with her friends right now, and so I went yesterday and bought a 4 pack of Virgil's cream soda and a box of Ding Dongs, and I've smashed all of it. Yeah, I'm telling on myself. Boy, I've come a long way in 30 years, I promise you. But just cream soda and Ding Dongs. But hey, I'm human like anybody else, and it's that I was in the grocery store, and we eat healthy, we eat really well, and my wife's an amazing cook, and I'm walking down the aisle, and I thought, huh, I'm going to go get a box of Ding Dongs. That's that thought right there that went floating over my head, and I thought, my wife's not here, I'll grab that one. Boom. That's what I'm talking about. It's familiar, it's comfortable, it's one I like, it's one I wanted. So I did the same thing just yesterday. So I'm not telling you anything that I don't believe and I don't live. I promise you. Um, the one thing I want you to remember when you walk away from this tonight is that our thoughts don't define who we are. Our actions do. And that's going to be really important for some of you as you discover this chain of this incessant chatter in our brain and the thought processes. And you may, because now you're going to be aware, and you may start realizing you're thinking about things that you never thought of before. Some of it may be weird. Some of it you may not like very much. I don't know. But the key point is that our thoughts don't define us. You can't help what you think. I mean, that's programming from way back when. There's no telling who put what in your brain. 90% of it you've forgotten, all the way back to the age of, since the day you were born. So a lot of those are just stuff you heard from other people, and Lord knows what. So those thoughts don't define you. Your actions do, and the way that you choose, you perceive those thoughts and you act on those thoughts. So it's important to remember that. Remember that, and let that basis drive you backwards from what you're learning with your awareness. Just because you think things, you can do what I call a manual override. When you think of something negative, you think I ought to swerve over and run that guy off the road because he flipped me the bird or whatever. I don't know, whatever the case is. Um, then you can stop and do a manual override and think that's a horrible thought. Why would I even think that? You don't even have to think, why would I even think that? You can just think, oh, I'm thinking a really violent thought. That's not who I want to be. And just let it go. Boom, it's gone. That's mindfulness in practice. So we're going to talk about that more too. So, all right, real quick. Anybody have any questions before we start? He says, don't believe everything you think. Amen to that. I'm going to give that one a big heart right there. Yeah, trying to get rid of judgments, and judgments are programmed. Boy, I was raised by a very judgmental woman, and my judgments are, I'm so critical of myself. And it carries over. That's a big one for sure. So, okay, let's get ready. All right. Now, remember, we're going to do a couple exercises, and then I'm going to put you to sleep. So, a couple things I want you to remember as we begin to do these exercises. Okay. Wherever, again, wherever that you are physically safe in this moment. Wherever you are physically safe in this moment. You're safe. You're among friends who you share a bond with. We have a unique bond that most people can never even possibly fathom what we're going through, and we're all here together. So not only do we have a unique bond most people don't have, but we have a common goal. You're here. You're all here for the same reason. Okay, remember that. Always remember you're not alone. I'm here. You can reach out to me. It's here. You've got so many wonderful people in this group. I mean, there's 6,000 of us, for crying out loud. You are not alone. If you can't find somebody that knows what you're going through in a group of 6,000 people with the same underlying uh, issue going on in their life, I mean, they're here. So you're not alone. Please don't ever think you're alone. And make sure you know that you're using this group as a resource and for your healing and community. Um, Remember, if you think you're alone, you get to choose whether you believe that or not. I just told you that, so keep that in mind as well. Also, remember, I am not a therapist. Therapists are licensed mental health professionals. They help their clients improve their lives and reduce symptoms of mental illness. They cope with various challenges. I am not a therapist. I'm not going to pretend to be a therapist. I'm a mindfulness instructor that I share my life experiences and what I've learned over the last 30 years. But it's imperative that you understand that therapy can be a very valuable tool in your healing process and can work in conjunction with mindfulness. And someone was talking about, as I mentioned, someone was talking about that earlier, that their therapist actually meant mindfulness. But if you feel a therapist may help your situation, I strongly encourage you to explore that option. There's no shame in therapy. There's a lot of science behind how vocalizing emotions help reduce the impact of emotions internally and physically. It is a real thing. A therapist should be another tool in your arsenal of self care. Don't be never be ashamed or hesitant to utilize tools at your disposal to heal yourself. For real, no one should care about your well being more than you, and I mean that. So, okay, let's do some experimentation, shall we? I was going to do the Doctor Evil thing, but it probably wouldn't work. All right. So I'd like for you to relax and close your eyes and just listen to my voice. Begin thinking normal, or I'm sorry, begin breathing normally. Um, just regular, normal breathing. Inhale and exhale. Take a few breaths. Okay, continue to breathe. And when I say begin, I want you to simply begin to count each of your breath cycles. For example, when you will inhale deeply, then you will exhale completely. That will be one. Then you inhale deeply and exhale completely, and that would be two, and so on. Okay. Your challenge is to simply count consecutively to 10, uninterrupted. Okay. It's that simple. That's all we're going to do. Inhale, exhale, one, inhale, exhale, two, and so forth to 10. Got it? Okay. So when you're finished, simply type finish in the chat bar, and then we will wait for everyone else to finish. Okay? Everyone ready? Don't answer that. Don't type. Just, all right, ready? Begin. Okay, I think we have about 20 who have typed finish, and I would make 21. Lily, there we go, makes 22. So, and we may have lost someone. Someone may be dozing. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to point out is notice how the difference in the timing, that some of you breathe much faster than others. And I found that interesting as we were waiting here. So I've never done it in this format, so I've never really noticed it like that before. Okay, so I want to I want to ask you a few simple questions, and I want you to honestly reflect on your experience. There's no right or wrong answer. I don't. There's nothing that I'm really looking for here. I want you to just be honest with yourself and reflect on your personal experience and try to remember the experiences they relate to these questions. Um, don't judge your answers as bad or good. Okay, simply reflect with just curiosity to look and think back. Okay, first question: who made it 1 through 10 consecutively? Who made it straight through without being uninterrupted, without forgetting where you were at, without having to start over, without thinking about work tomorrow or your birthday party next week or the cruise in August? Who made it all the way through uninterrupted, 1 through 10, easily? And you can answer yourself, or you can answer in the chat. I'll wait to see if anyone answers in the chat, but you don't have to. This is really just for your own self reflection. Well, surely we have people here that didn't make it, because usually, yeah, says she didn't. Usually, it's about 70 to 80% don't. They in one way or another. Okay. Okay. He has kids fighting. Okay, so And even for those of you that did make it all the way through and were able to focus, I want to know. So, I mean, some of you didn't make it through. You were interrupted. Had some of you had distractions. Some of you were able to focus and make it all the way through. But I want you to reflect back and think. Did you observe your mind jumping around from thought to thought, trying to think about other things without any real pattern or order? Maybe you had to, I don't know, maybe you had to count louder in your head because you were trying to think about something else, or you had to tell yourself to stop and focus, or whatever the case may be, however you may do it. But did any of you notice other things going on in your mind other than the counting itself? Maybe it's even something like you're not breathing deep enough, or you need to slow down, or you need to speed up, or I wonder what everybody else is doing, or I wonder if I'm doing this right. Any thoughts like that? She's a mom. That's normal. I get it. I get it. So this exercise is designed to really point out what as and a lot of people even have trouble focusing on the breath itself. That's a big challenge for people to meditate. People don't know how to meditate because they sit down and they start to meditate, and then they just start thinking, and so they think they're relaxing because they're not doing anything physically, but you're not really relaxing because your mind's just going 100 miles an hour. So um, this is very, very, very common, and like I said, most of the people that I deal with, um, they either struggle with counting, or they just have a lot of chatter in their mind, trying to think about other things. This is normal. This is what the Buddhists refer to as the monkey mind, and it's when the mind just swings through the trees like a monkey, just wherever it wants to go. And a lot of times it's called a rabbit hole when you start thinking about, you hear a noise, you're like, oh, what was that noise? Oh, I wonder if the door is locked. Oh, by the way, I have to get the key from the neighbor because we're going on vacation. And I wonder if I reserved the hotel while we're on vacation. This is a new place that we went to last year. We went to Mexico, and I really liked Mexico. Oh, there's a lot of problems in Mexico right now. Oh, and you just go, your mind just goes off, and that's part of it as well. Or it could just be you're concentrating on your breathing, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, Game of Thrones is probably on, and it boom pulls you away from what you're thinking about. The Buddhists refer to this as monkey mind. The term actually means unsettled, restless, capricious, whimsical, fanciful, inconstant, confused, indecisive, and uncontrollable. It's all of those things. Um, in, as I said, in my experience, it describes most of us. Most of us deal with this on, some of us more so than others. My my mind my mind just doesn't shut off, and so that's why I practice mindfulness to the degree that I do, because this has been 30 years in the making of trying to get this to slow down and shut down. Because my wife will be and I be in a conversation, and there'll be a pause, and I'll say something, and she'll say, "What are you talking about?" Well, it's because I walked 7 steps in my mind from the last thing she said, and I just blurted something out, just squirrel, and so she made me start mindfulness training. No, I'm just kidding, but she's probably grateful, I'm sure. Um, so this happens a lot to us, and we're used to it. Okay, um, when for those of you who experienced some of this while you were meditating, or while we were doing this exercise, you experienced it. How did you handle it? Or anytime, if you just said that she experiences this when she meditates. Anytime you catch your mind wandering from what it is that you're doing, that whatever is it that you're trying to focus on, what's important, how do you handle that? And I'm intentionally not trying to give examples, because I want to see, but maybe I should give some examples. I mean, do you do you ignore it? You just la la la, and you try to you try to go beyond it and block it out? Do you confront yourself? Are you angry with yourself, saying, "Stop thinking that right now"? How do you handle that? Heck, beat me to it. Shh, you're not allowed to. You're telling secrets. Uh, yeah, you got. That's exactly what I'm going to share. That's the only way to do it. Um, Unfortunately, many people don't. Many people aren't self-compassionate, and many people are their harshest critics. And I have worked with people who are very harsh on themselves and speak very negatively of themselves inside their brain. Um, Block it out, push it away. Say, okay, um, yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Um, so, um, okay, got some visualization going on. I don't know if we're going to get the visualization in this 10 weeks, but I love it. Um, I'm a big fan of visualization. I coached travel basketball for a very long time, and we were always the number one team in our state, and we were ranked nationally, and we won a lot of tournaments across the nation. I was really big on visualization, and I'm a big. I taught my players visualization, and I know that's why they were as good as they were. Um, so thank you. What's a ping pong ball before? You mean with your mind, ping pong? I get it. Okay. All right. So um, let's try another exercise real quick. And I can't scroll back up quick enough. Someone said something that caught my attention about what we're getting and made me think about this next exercise. So um, all right. So close your eyes again and begin to breathe normally. And this time we're going to basically do the same thing. But as you inhale, I want you to count the duration of the inhale. As you inhale, count 1, 2, 3, 4. Then exhale, and I want you to match the number on the exhale that you had on the inhale. So it should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And we're just going to do this for a few minutes. I'll tell you when to stop, and then I have a couple questions for you then too. Okay. So go ahead and begin. Okay. Come back to me. You want to tell them? You want to tell them why we're doing? I scrolled back up and saw it was a comment. Do you want to tell them why we did this? There may be too much of a delay on the comments. What you should have experienced. Well, first of all, you may have. Did anyone experience the monkey mind that time? Um, I mean, it's certainly possible. That really wasn't the focus of this exercise, but the monkey mind surely could have been, um, prevalent there. This is anytime we meditate, we're susceptible to that. And as your awareness increases, you'll notice that more and more. Okay, there it is. It says that she went from 3 to 4. Did anyone else experience the more they were breathing, the longer the count got, the deeper their breaths became? Anyone else experience that? Notice your heart rate slow down? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And this is a normal response because you're relaxing. We talked about when the CO2 level goes up and the stress comes that we want to breathe faster. That's why we hyperventilate. The antidote is the exact opposite. As you were breathing and counting, you were focusing on your breath, you began to relax. As you began to relax, your breath began to stretch. Okay. So just keep that in mind. This is a reinforcement. This is also a little trick. By all means, use this at your desk at work. I don't. And if you stay home with your kids, try. I have stayed home with my kids and my wife. At one time in my life, I stayed home with my children, and my wife has stayed home with my children for many years. And so, if you stay home with your children, especially now during the summer when they're out of school, go lock yourself in the bathroom and do this trick, and just count your breath. And all you need is 2 minutes, and you will be amazed at the difference it will make in your daily routine, especially if you start doing this throughout the day. I do these little exercises. Not the first one necessarily, though you can do the first one, but I do this one more so than the first one. There's an old cartoon. We're going to run over again. I talk too much. Sorry, but I am going to put you to sleep. So stick with me. There's an old cartoon, the old Woody Woodpecker cartoons. There was Pandy Panda, and I remember his dad was a big, huge panda bear, and there was an episode where he would get angry and he turned purple, and then he counted 10, and the purple would run away, and he wouldn't be angry anymore. Um, and then the funny part of the cartoon is that he gets really, really, really mad in the end, and he skips 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and he has purple and white stripes. I don't know if I should be there, but that was my first introduction to mindfulness. So I use this trick all day long. Um, so road rage, I don't know. Um, good luck. Trying to don't close your eyes and count your breathing while you're road raging. That's where a quick manual override I think has come in. So okay, let's meditate. Okay, I want you to get comfortable. There's a part of this that we're skipping. We'll go into that next week because it's late. Again, you may lie down, sit up in your chair, recline in a chair, whatever is preferable. I just want you to be comfortable. That is the most important thing. If you are sitting, please sit with your back straight, feet flat on the floor. If you're seated on the floor, you may cross your legs, sit in a half lotus or full lotus. You may choose to elevate your sit bones by sitting on a pillow or a folded blanket. The most important thing is that you have a supported position and you're comfortable. Close your eyes for me and please check your posture. Good posture is essential to prevent fatigue and potential injury, and as well as help increase the flow of energy throughout the body. It's extremely important. Posture is something else that we can practice, like mindfulness. Okay, I'd like you to take a deep breath in slowly. Exhale through your nostrils. By now, you're a little bit warmed up. Your body's ready to relax. Again, inhale and exhale through your nostrils. One more deep breath, and let's give it our sigh of relief. Blow it all out as loud as you want to. I don't care if the neighbors hear you. That's between you and them. And tonight, I want to do something a little different. I want to start by recapping your day. I want you to go ahead and take a moment as you're breathing, continue your breathing, and begin to replay the stories from the day. And I say stories because they're stories. We play a character at work, we play a character with our friends. Um, Everything unfolds as stories. And I'm not saying it's not real, I'm not saying it's not legitimate. I'm just saying that it is a story. Start replaying those uh, stories from the day. Um, Perhaps you have a few moments where you felt accomplished and worthy. Perhaps you have some moments where you were frustrated. Um, Maybe there were moments of joy and contentment. Think about, what were your victories today? What experiences were you most fond of? What are some opportunities that you may have missed? And if you have missed opportunities, the important thing there is, what are the lessons that you may have learned from those missed opportunities? And as you recall all these moments, I want to invite you to simply recall them. Just recall, observe, and let's let them go. Let's let them drift away as a fallen leaf in the fall may have blown away in the wind. Just let it go. All these moments, good or bad, they're gone. They've had their time. They no longer exist. They only exist as memories in the past, and perhaps as lessons that may increase the quality of our lives in the future. But they are not here. You are in the present. You are here, physically, in the now. And I want you to just breathe. And now, as you continue to breathe, I want you to turn your awareness inward. As you inhale, I want you to take a moment to notice how the air feels as it enters your nostrils, as it passes through your throat and into your lungs, and even into your belly. As you exhale, notice how the air escapes through your mouth, and notice any physical sensations that come with that. Continue to do this as you breathe. I'd like to invite you to place your hand on your belly as you breathe. And as you do so, pay particular attention to how the air rises and falls with each inhale and exhale. Continue to breathe. And now, on your next inhale, when you feel that you've almost completed the inhale, I want you to take a little extra sip of air. Just squeeze that last little bit in. And now exhale and let it go. And as you exhale, do so slowly and very deliberately, under control. And as you reach the end of your exhale, make an extra effort to squeeze out that little extra sip that you took in, and try to squeeze out every last drop of air from your lungs. Empty them completely. Pause for a split second, and then take a deep inhale. And this time, I want you to go ahead and exhale with a sigh. Give your sigh of relief. And I know I do this daily. I know how good that feels. so so much so that I'd like to invite you to do it again. Take a deep breath, squeeze in an extra sip of air, And then exhale and blow it all out. Squeeze the extra sip out. And then inhale deeply and exhale with a sigh of relief. This is always good to do before bedtime. So please continue to breathe and listen to my voice. Tonight, as you sleep, your body and mind will rest. When we sleep, our body takes the opportunity to heal and repair. Your mind takes the opportunity to sort and solve. All you need to do is sleep peacefully. But I want you to realize as you drift off to sleep this evening that in the morning when you wake up, when you take that breath, the awareness breath, the first breath in the morning, and you're aware that you're breathing, I want you to realize that you've been blessed with another day. There are many people who won't get that opportunity tomorrow. There will be another opportunity to start anew and move forward in your life from wherever you are. No matter what's happened, you can always move forward beginning tomorrow. We've talked about in the previous weeks, you are the creator of your reality. You are the artist of your destiny. The choices you've made have brought you to this point. The choices that you make from here forward will take you where you want to go. But none of that really matters right now because none of it's here. Right now, it's just you and your breath. So just breathe. Inhale the oxygen that rejuvenates and nourishes every cell of your body. Exhale the waste from the productivity in your body as it nourishes and heals itself. As you inhale, I want you to inhale positive intention, relaxation. I want you to visualize this. As you inhale, visualize positive intention, the positiveness and the blessings that you want to enter into your life. I want you to visualize relaxation. We talked before about visualizing the breath as waves washing over you. And then when you exhale, I want you to visualize exhaling tension and stress and negativity and visualize it leaving the body. Visualization is very important. As you continue to breathe, turn your awareness in and check in with your body for any areas that may be holding on to tension and stress. We talked about the areas that your body may be holding stress, tension in your brow, your face, your neck, shoulders, your hands. Visualize exhaling any of that leftover tension and breathing in the relaxation over and over. Every breath in, every breath out. Continue to breathe. One of the basic principles of mindfulness is that the only time that really matters is now. What we do in this moment has great impact on our future. The only time that matters is right now. You are here right now. You're not in yesterday and you're not in tomorrow. You're here right now. And again, I'll reiterate the fact that you are here is a blessing. There are many people who did not get here today. There are many people who are breathing, who are not aware, they're not healing. Please take a moment to realize just how blessed you truly are. It's a little bit easier when we're not focusing on our first world problems. Take a few more breaths. When you're ready, You may begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Gently begin to move your extremities on your own time. If you want to lay there and not move at all, please be my guest. I will consider that a compliment. Open your eyes when you're ready. You can reward yourself with a stretch or even a hug. I'm big on self hugs. Um, there's a difference between self compassion and I don't know, narcissism or egotism. We should love ourselves. Feel free to give yourself a hug. Um, as you begin to revive and we get ready to depart, I want you to remember that the past belongs in the past, and the future isn't here yet. Um, you're here right now in the present. Always enjoy it. Always stop to take a moment to look around and realize that, and be grateful for where you are, because it could be a lot different. No matter what problems you have, they could always be worse. Um, and know whatever comes tomorrow, that it too shall pass. No matter what happens, no matter what happens, it it will pass. Um, because as I mentioned before, each day is a new opportunity to start anew. So I hope you enjoyed our meditation tonight, all of our time together. I hope you learned something crucial. Um, and it's my sincere wish that you maintain your compassion, your gratitude, and your inner peace as you sleep and into your day tomorrow. So I thank you again for joining me, and we will be back next week at the same time. So take care, everyone. Have a good week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.